Hello everybody, and welcome to the Daily Dose of Joy with the Calgary Zoo. My name is Donna Shepherd, and I'm speaking to you today from Kenya, where I live and work with the Calgary Zoo as part of the conservation team. And what are we doing in Kenya, you might be asking? Well, we're working with the Mountain Bongo. We're trying to help to save them from extinction. A mountain bongo is an antelope, and antelopes are herbivores, which means that they eat plants or grasses. And in Africa, we have many species of antelopes, from the smallest ones, which are duikers, to the very biggest ones, which are called elands. Here in Kenya alone, we have about 30 species of antelopes. Maybe you could try at home and do some research about the antelopes of Africa. Mountain bongos are quite big antelopes. They're about the size of a cow. They have reddish brown coats, and they have these crazy white stripes that look like someone actually painted them on. They prefer to live in the alpine forests or the mountain forests of Kenya, the highland areas, and usually around the place of 2,500 meters and above. And in this vegetation layer, we often find stands of alpine bamboo. I find it so interesting that they're so big, but they like to be in these dense forests, and how they can move between the trees. It's incredible. Also, the males and females both carry horns, and the horns twist more and grow taller as they age. And the other thing that's really important about the forest, the alpine forest where bongo are living, is that they are really critical water catchment areas for Kenyans. We like to call them here the water towers of Kenya. And these water towers are serving water to about 90% of the people living in Nairobi. So very important areas, not just for the bongo, but for an important source of clean drinking water for the humans of Kenya. Sadly, the mountain bongo is critically endangered. We believe there's less than 100 of them remaining in the wild. And the added challenge is that they're not all in the same place. There's one group living in Mount Kenya, there's another group in the Aberdares, another in Iburu Forest, and a fourth in the Mao complex. And the reason that they've become endangered is because of overhunting, and there's also been habitat loss to some of those forests. And then the other challenge is mountain bongo, they don't just live anywhere. They have a special niche habitat, and so that makes it challenging for them to survive. We find it so hard to find them in the wild because there's so few remaining. We put up camera traps and we leave the cameras against a tree, and that takes their picture, but to see them with your own eyes is almost impossible. So today, I came to the Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy, which is an orphanage for wildlife. And there's lots of different animals here. It's an amazing place. And one of the animals that they're trying to look after are the mountain bongo. The Calgary Zoo here in Kenya is trying to help with the mountain bongo situation by doing studies to confirm how many animals are living in the wild. And also, we have been speaking to people surrounding the alpine forests to find out how they feel about mountain bongo and what they would think of having captive bongo brought into the forest to restock the dwindling populations. And we have been doing this work with our partners here in Kenya, of course. That includes the Kenyan government, that's the Kenya Wildlife Service, the Kenya Forest Service, and also Rhino Ark and Bongo Surveillance Project, two Kenyan NGOs. Conservation work I do with the Calgary Zoo is with a special approach to conservation called community-based conservation. And what this is we do our normal conservation work that we're trying to do to protect wild species and wild spaces. And at the same time, we purposefully bring in the local populations living in and around the habitat or the protected area. And how does this look? Well, some of the ways that we can engage the local populations is to provide them with opportunities to make money from conservation. So they can harvest honey in a sustainable way. When you harvest honey, you don't destroy the habitat. And so this is the type of industry that can continue on while still conserving the forest. And so these are some of the ways that people can benefit economically from conservation efforts. We also do things linked to the forest outside of the habitat, which includes things like tree nurseries. So these are trees that would be growing in that forest, and people can buy them and plant them on their own land, or they can actually get involved and participate in planting programs inside the forest into those degraded areas. So these are some of the ways that we unite human interest and conservation in a type of marriage so that both can benefit. It's a win-win for conservation and it's a win for humanity. Thank you for joining us today on the Daily Dose of Joy with the Calgary Zoo. And I hope you learned something about mountain bongos. Okay guys, come on in. Thank you for supporting wildlife conservation. Asante sana. Bye-bye.